is identifying me a tag and list of attributes over here. In this, for example, I don't have an ID defined. Just think that I don't have name also not defined. Name is not defined. ID isn't there and name isn't there. So the third and final option will be class name. So we have a class defined. So class has a value called text box dashed. So I'm capturing this value and placing the cursor at the starting HTML tag. I have placed the cursor at the starting HTML tag, and once again I'm going to find. So I'm placing the value that I got from that particular web element and selecting class as the option. Earlier it was name. Because I have ignoring name, I am selecting the class now. I am clicking on find, and if you see, surname text box is getting blinked. The blue color highlighted region is getting highlighted on surname text box rather than date of birth, which I want to identify. So this tells us that this particular value text box dash is not only defined for date of birth, but it is also defined for surname text box. So we can say that this particular value text box dash defined for class cannot be used to identify the surname text box, because as we discussed, any element on a given web application has to be uniquely identified. Value defined for the attribute should not be defined for other attribute as well. That value should be unique for that particular web element. Got my point? So I'm just telling you, if an ID is defined for any text box or a checkbox or radio button, always remember, for example, the value is some ABC. ID, that value should be unique. Another element with ID equal to ABC should not be there within the web application. Within the web not within the web application, sorry, within the web page. Within the page, that particular value should be unique. We should not have the same value for two different web elements. So for example, ID equal to XYZ and name equal to XYZ. If we are having ID equal to XYZ, the value, same value for different attributes, this is okay. But same attribute, same value defined for more than one web element, we should not consider such values to identify the web element, because Selenium will be confused to identify either the surname text box or the date of birth text box. So always remember, the value should be unique for a given web element. That is, if we are taking an attribute ID, this ID attribute with the value ABC should be unique throughout the web page. Maybe a name with the same value can be defined, but ID with the same value shouldn't be there at all. So able to understand, right, how this is done? So this is how you identify a web element on a given web application using ID, name, class name on Internet Explorer. So drop downs drop downs have a different approach. We will talk about drop downs in XPath session, not in the ID, name or class name, because we cannot identify a drop down element using ID or name or class name. I will explain you why we cannot identify in the XPath classes. Okay, so remember, text boxes, check boxes, radio buttons, images, buttons, all these things can be identified using an ID, name or class name. Drop downs, hyperlinks cannot be identified using ID or name or class name. Hyperlinks may be identified if the developer defines, but drop downs cannot be identified using ID or name or class name, because no developer will define a unique ID or name or class name for each element in the dropdown. Okay, so now let me go with Firefox. Now I am going with a Firefox. So for Firefox, for Internet Explorer, we have IE Developer Toolbar. For Firefox, we have an add-on called Firebug. Firebug is the add-on that is being used. Rajni, I did not get you. Can you come up again with your question? To my email ID. If you have any questions, you can just post your questions over there even. So now for Firefox, how do we identify elements? Rajni, you did not miss any classes. I have just given a small session on what is Selenium. Yes, sure, I will do that. I will do that. I will repeat the question and I will answer the that query to everyone, because that query may be helpful for everyone. I will repeat the same question asked by the any member in the session. Thanks for the suggestion, Rajani. So now in Firefox, we have an add-on called Firebug. Just go to google.com and type Firebug. And in the Firebug, once you go to Firebug, always remember, depending upon the version of Firefox you have, you need to download the Firebug version as well. Else the Firebug will not be installed on to your Firefox browser. So I am clicking on Firebug, add-on for Firefox. So for example, maybe many people for testing what they use is Firefox 5, Firefox 10, Firefox 15, depending upon the company's requirement. So always remember, when you are downloading Firebug, you need to check for the version, whether it supports the given browser or not. So I'm going to show you over here which version, because in Firefox here clearly they give you the compatibility table. Here is the compatibility table. So you need to select which browser version you are using, Firefox version you are using, and download that particular browser, particular Firebug. So here if you see Firefox 1.1.11. So here you have add to Firefox. Once you click on add to Firefox, you can directly gets integrated. This particular Firebug gets integrated into your browser. So I'm just giving you the link. Just go ahead and add this to your Firefox browser. So once the download is done, once you click on F12, you will see in the same way as we saw for IE Developer Toolbar on Internet Explorer, we'll see on the bottom of the Firefox, we will see this particular add-on popping up. And this is a very wonderful add-on which can be used not only for Selenium, for manual testing, even for cookie testing or URL testing and all those things. People use this tool for performing manual for checking the cookies and all those things. So we can use this tool for performing Selenium automation as well. So here I have taken Deal for Loans website. So I'm just giving you this as well. So this tool can be used. This website I'm using to identify, and this Firebug tool is used for identifying the elements using an ID, name, or class name. So now I'm once again taking the cursor available in the same way what we had for IE Developer Toolbar on the left side. For here also we have IE a pointer. Select that pointer and select the element which you want to identify. I have placed the cursor. Once I'm placing the cursor, a blue color region is getting highlighted. So I'm placing the cursor on email ID text box. Once I place, you can see here, this particular tag is getting highlighted. Here we don't have an attribute section which we saw on IE Developer. Here we see the full tag. The full tag, from this tag we can take the elements or the attribute values to identify the element. So once this tag got highlighted, we need to check what are the attributes defined. ID is defined, type is defined, tab index is defined, on key down is defined, height is defined, and name is defined by the developer. So in this, as we were discussing, we require an ID, name, or class name. So the first preference, as we have ID, we can go with the ID value. The value defined over is email underscore ID. So copy that email ID value defined for the ID attribute. Just double click on it. You can do Control A, Control C. You can copy that value, and again you need to go to the starting HTML tag as discussed in the Internet Explorer browser. So place the cursor at the starting HTML tag and you see the total web page is getting highlighted with a blue color. That means I am trying to check for this particular value from the starting HTML tag to the end of the web page. So once I placed, immediately the particular tag is getting, this particular value getting highlighted over here with a gray color background. That means this particular tag has been identified on the web page. And if you see, when I place the cursor on this tag, the email ID text box is getting highlighted. That means this particular value is defined for this particular text box for ID attribute. So once again, let's click on next. Yes, I'm clicking on next. Another value is getting highlighted. That is name equal to email ID. As we were discussing, this is acceptable. ID equal to XYZ, name equal to XYZ is accepted. But ID equal to ABC, ID equal to ABC is not accepted. So here we can say that this particular email ID value defined for ID attribute can be used for identifying this email text box. If you once again click on next also, it will go within this particular tag, but it is not moving anywhere else. That means this value is uniquely defined for ID attribute for okay, let me see. I don't see any of this in my Firebug window. So did you click on F12? So did the Firebug popped up? So just click on F12. I think maybe the Firebug did not get installed correctly. So that may be the reason you are facing this issue. Do you see any icon, any Firebug icon on the left side of the browser or under view? Okay, 1 minute. Under tools, web developer, go to web developer option. Under that, do you see Firebug? Okay, so try to click on the pointer available and select any element. On the left side, you see a pointer. And select